Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the comic shop. And this one, I'm bringing you Black Panther's Helmet.
Artlist.io.
Okay, so now I've brought two pieces to one. And some of you guys might wonder, how do you make it disappear? Magic. And the camera. No, I'm just kidding. For me, myself, the first thing that I'll try to do is focus on where I'm actually cutting. So of course, I want to have a horizontal or vertical line coming down right here where all of this detail is, and have to figure something out for that. I know some of you guys may have smaller printers, so I would just focus on making cuts, again, where there's not too much detail and it's not going to affect the print in a tremendous way. From there, the second thing that I do is use my soldering iron. So this is just pretty much like the first pass, me just trying to get it together. The inside I did a lot with more pressure. So this thing is stuck on there. But the soldering iron actually helps bring two pieces, brings two pieces and makes them one. There are different techniques that I use through multiple of my videos I've shown. Either I'll just put the hot end of the soldering iron and just rub it real gentle across the two sides, and that'll pretty much bring those two sides and bring them in as one. I can take some of the old filament that I had that's still on the spool and put a little thin piece of that in there, and then just work that down with the soldering iron, just smoothing it out. Or I can take a piece of raft and then same thing, place it over, completely hide it, and then just sand that part down. Another thing that I'll do, again, after that is use Bondo. Bondo I'll use in a very precise way. So pretty much I'll mix a good batch of it. And then of course with some gloves on, I'll get a small portion with my finger and then just really rub it in to the specific spot that I want. There are tweezers that I have aside from this, and little small tools that I have aside from this where I can pluck and pick stuff out where I don't want it. The good thing about Bondo wood filler, those things harden, and after they harden, they crust, so that way it's a little bit easier to pick that stuff out. But the main focus is to, one, make sure the print itself comes out good. So with that, check out my other two videos that I just posted on cure settings and how to maintain your 3D printer. Besides that, it's just little tools that I'll use in very deliberate ways to not affect everything. As far as sandpaper from there, wet and dry sandpaper, 400 and up, are the only things that I'm gonna sand with. Everything else is basically gonna have to come down to the primer that you use. Okay, so I didn't even realize I wasn't recording as I was doing this, but luckily I still have a little bit more. Basically what you can already see, I'm just pretty much bondoing in where I soldered and just sanding that over. So there was another little crack right here that I missed, some down here. What I really wish I could have showed you guys was all the layer lines that were here at the bottom and how I took those out with the Bondo and just like a little tweezer just to scrape that little bit of stuff out at the bottom. But with a print like this, obviously where it has a lot of detail, something like this with a mesh or a lot of these lines, gets pretty difficult. You have to be very deliberate with what you're doing. There are different methods that people use. Mine, of course, is Bondo. Some people may use wood filler, XTC, 3D, resin with a UV light. There are different ways. The best tip that I can give you is if it's a flat surface like this, go ahead and Bondo it up, sand it down. But if you're getting like a lot of layer lines within the print itself, I will highly recommend just printing it again, trying out a smaller scale, because there's not really much you can do as far as sanding when it comes to the actual detail. Now, yes, I can use wet and dry sandpaper, which is pretty much what I'm using. I'm using a 400 grit, but even so, I have to be very delicate with it, because if I keep scratching and scratching and scratching, obviously something's gonna wear away, something's gonna go away. So the best tip that I can give when you're working with a high quality print or a print with a lot of detail is to, one, practice first. So scale this down to a lot smaller size and then print. See if there are any defaults or defects that come. If there are, figure out whether it supports, whether you're not level in a certain place, and try again. But really, with a lot of detail, wet and dry sandpaper is the best that you can kind of do. If you do use certain fillers, again, like I said, just using like little tweezers or something small to pick out some of that stuff that's left in between. But besides that, this is coming out good. Another tip, black spray paint kind of hides everything, which is this is gonna be a black helmet, but still, I'm still putting in that extra step because I just don't want anything, especially in the face, to be showing. So even here at the nose, I have to cover it as well. But you'll pretty much get a before and after of that coming now. Okay, so this is before sanding the Bondo. I just gave it a day to sit, but you can see the difference where those gaps were. Even like the mesh that I had right here. Once I sand that down, prime it again, this is all gonna look flat. And that's the basic pattern or steps that you wanna take during this process. Is after I sand this, some of the gaps might pop back up where I have to do it again, sand again, and then prime again. At this stage, the more you do this, the better your print comes out. And the good thing is, after this, all I basically have to do is just spray paint this black, so it's not that hard. Just make sure I get this part down perfect. Once this part is done, spray paint black and you're done. So the primer stage is really just focusing on repetition until what you see there is gone. It's not always going to be just one shot, just like we're printing. It's not just going to take one time. Sometimes you might have to do layer on layer on layer. Sometimes you might have to use Bondo, then spot putty, something just to get those smaller holes. It all depends on how far you want to go and how good you want the print to come out. Okay, so I have two primers. This one is a sandable primer. It comes out a little black. So I just use this just so I can see when I add the black spray paint, what would actually be coming through. And as you can see, the cheek is pretty good. You just gotta take out some of those like little clumps there. Just sand that down a little better. The nose I'm about to touch up. But as you can see, you don't really see all of those lines that were there before. Everything looks pretty neat. All right, and then from there, it's just about being honest with yourself. Just how far do you think you can go? Or how perfect do you think you can get? For me, that's damn good enough. I got all the big stuff taken care of. The main part to me is the face. There's nothing that you can see there. The nose, I did knock down a lot more. So it looks like a lot smoother there. And then I took out like the crust that was up here too. this point, there's basically two approaches that I can take. Either I can use painter's tape and mask this whole mask or helmet. I can either use like a little plastic bag. I'm pretty sure everybody has that little cabinet with all those Stop and Shop bags. I can use that with some painter's tape and mask this as well. Or I can do the route that I'm going to take now. Just use some basic acrylic paint and just add the silver details. So again, if I want to spray paint it, I could just mask it and then go from there. I think this is a lot easier. I can get a lot more detailed. I've noticed with acrylic paints, it's best to go like a couple of layers, just pretty much like everything. It's just repetition to get that solid look that you want. But once I add the silver, that's pretty much going to be it. I'm just going to add a basic mesh for the eyes. Same thing that I did for Princess Shuri's. Here we go. Okay, so you can see after the first coat of that silver how it still looks like child's play, basically. So I gotta keep going over with that just to make that pop a lot more. Even the lines up, and the good thing about this acrylic is that if I go over the line, I can just wet a paper towel and just wipe it off. Again, thank you guys for watching the video. This is now going to my nephew as a Christmas present. If you did like the video, definitely hit the like button. If you want to see more of my upcoming builds, hit that subscribe button and share this video if it actually helps you. It's Beezy Comics. I'm out.